last moments with grenades. Like he uses a zombie
Yes.
as a human shield. There's walkers everywhere. People are shooting like bits of the walker he has held in front of him off, and he just throws a grenade over at the people shooting at him and blows them to bits. And then he again goes in with the grenade into the tank, which I think was pretty
That
cool.
was
I don't
cool.
know if that's really like possible to do that, but I don't care
Down the
because it was so
barrel.
cool.
I don't see why not. I
I
don't know.
hope so.
But I thought all that was cool. And like current day Daryl would have just been able to take out all these people just by himself.
I know, right? Right. And then what was the guy's name driving the tank? So like the main
Mitch.
goon Mitch. I thought that was also pretty badass when Daryl just shoots him pretty
Yeah.
short range with a bolt.
There was like a pause, like, what's he going to do here? And he shot him. He's like, yeah, that was probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Carl with the shotgun when Rick's looking for him and the zombies are coming towards Rick and Carl shoots him in the back with the shotgun and then he suddenly appears. That was also pretty cool.
hmm You remember Carl was like telling Daryl, maybe I should take a shot at the governor right now.
I think he
And
should
Daryl's
have.
like,
Someone should have.
well, yeah. But Daryl's like, from 50 feet. And Carl's like, I'm a good shot. And then when the firefight broke out, you'd think if Carl would have been able to shoot him, then he would have done it then. So maybe it wouldn't have been a good idea because he didn't
Maybe.
shoot him when he did eventually start firing, you know?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I
you
don't
would have
know.
had one shot
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then the fight starts. So it
hmm
was probably best that he didn't at that point, but
hmm
I don't know. He could have shot him.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that could have been it. That would have been a weird ending. What else? Anything else about the
I think
fight?
those were all
I
the
mean,
big
Bob got
moments.
shot. I'd forgotten that. The fist
Yeah.
fight was so brutal.
Yeah. It really reminded me of like the later fight, the fist fight that Negan and Rick get into too. And it's sort of I think it's fun on a show where so much of the fighting is gunfighting that when we do get the hand-to-hand fights, I always find that exciting. We get that with
hmm
Rick and Daryl too at one point later.
This fight, we get Rick going around saying, Carl, Carl. And that is where I got my ringtone from this episode. So
That's awesome.
anytime I have my ringer on and somebody calls, that's what I hear. And Carl crying is
Yeah.
pretty impactful. And I was thinking about who's together after this.
hmm
I hope people don't mind me saying, but Rick and Carl, and soon after Michonne. I think at the end of the next episode, Michonne joins them.
What I was questioning is what the fuck was Michonne doing? Like, why did she wander off in that moment? I know what she does at the
Hmm.
beginning of the next episode that we see her, but like, was she just on like a rage rampage for a minute? Like, I just think more
Just
important
continuing to
to
fight the battle
her
or something.
than that would have been to go with Rick to find Carl. And I'm just sort of surprised that she didn't do that in that moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Daryl and Beth,
hmm
Tyrese, Lizzie, Mika, and Judith, and soon after Carol are together.
Which was also very convenient that when they were going to tell Tyrese that the governor showed up just at the right moment for them not to spit out that it was Carol who killed Karen and David.
The blast went
Yeah.
off. Maggie, Sasha, and Bob. I remember liking watching them all together, getting to know
Yeah.
Bob a little better. Glenn and Tara, and soon Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita come into it.
Yes.
And I think, all the Woodburyans are dead unless you count Tyrese and Sasha, who were just there briefly. But
Yeah.
because Glenn goes off on that bus, right?
Mm.
But then
Mm-mm.
is he
We
on the
leave it
bus or I
we
forget
leave it
what
thinking
happens.
that he's on the bus, but he's not. He got
Oh,
off
okay.
to go look for Maggie, but
Oh, okay. Well, that's good because I thought it was kind of bullshit that he would just sit there. She's like, I got to go find Beth. And he's like, but he stays on the bus. And then at the end of the battle, we see the zombie from the episode about whether you can come back from dark things. That woman, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was kind of cool. I was specifically looking for it because I don't remember who you had on that episode. Was it Karen? she
Yeah, Karen. Yeah, it was Karen. Hmm.
she had called out that that we see the woman as a zombie in this episode, and I had
Hmm.
forgotten that. And so I was looking for it, and it was cool to see the episode almost end with that.
Hmm. Okay, I have a point about Tyrese, Lizzie, Mika, and Judith.
Yeah.
Because as you said, Rick and Daryl go to tell Tyrese what Carol did, and but he wants to show them this rat carcass. Is that what it is?
Hmm.
That's been splayed open and nailed to a board. And so, are we to assume that Lizzie did that?
Yes.
That she just doesn't understand the difference between life and death, or something?
I think she was trying to bait a zombie because we see her do that with animals later, but I think she also has a weird fixation with like killing animals, which
Okay,
is weird because she
psychopath.
doesn't want to kill zombies, but she's okay killing animals.
Yeah, I don't know if that really fits, because I thought, yeah, she just like left dead rats, but did they need to be splayed on a board? That just seems like psycho
I
behavior.
think she's just sort of like fascinated with blood because, we saw her dipping her toe into the blood in the
Mm, well, she's just
sick. Yeah, so she's just got
sociopath.
some sort of weird, and I mean that's like I think I mean I hate to say this because I feel like it is a common like trope that serial killers like abuse animals when they're kids, but I also think a lot of kids get like I was a scientist, so like I wasn't hurting live animals, but like I feel like we found like a dead frog on the road and we wanted to see what was inside kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, when I was a kid, we would all like dissect frogs in
Yeah.
science
Yeah. So I hate
classrooms and
to like
stuff.
categorize that like everyone that did weird stuff with animals is a psychopath, but I think it is like a common thing that, a lot of serial killers start out sort of like doing bad things to animals. And so I think that sort of is what they're going for with Lizzie of just like she's down a psychopath, you know, trajectory. And so that's going to, part of that is her like killing and cutting up animals because she continues to do that. um the animal thing, she does it to some rabbits and I think another type of animal out on the road with Tyrese, and then he
Mm,
comments on having seen it. She'd been taking dead rats out to the fence to try to like attract slash feed zombies. So I don't know how much of it is like her being a psychopath in terms of killing the animals and how much of it is her trying to like lure zombies closer with them.
yeah, I feel like it's probably more like that. So they see that, and Tyrese says, "Same person that killed Karen and David did this. We got a psychopath living with us." And Rick says, "I'm not so sure it's the same person." And I thought it'd be funny if he's like, it could be though.
Yeah, like we don't know
like
Carol didn't do
we
that.
like lately I'm kind of questioning things. But then later, and Mika and the other kids are taking baby Judith to the bus, and they're really rattling her around. I feel like whoever that kid's mom was is probably kind of nervous. That poor
Yeah, I
baby.
mean, that was like probably, I mean, that's pretty heavy to carry a baby of that size in a carrier, and then you have this pretty small girl doing it. It probably
She's
was a
like
bit of a real
head bobbing
struggle.
around. And Lizzie says, no, what are you doing? Carol told us to be strong, to protect ourselves. They have guns. We should have guns too. And my thought was, oh, Lizzie, Jesus Christ. But it turns out that in this case, Carol's training ended up saving Tyrese's life, Lizzie
Mhm.
and Mika, and most importantly, Judith. Because everyone else of these dies eventually. But yeah, because then Alicia, Tara's girlfriend, and this other guy are bearing down on Tyrese with their automatic guns, about to kill him. But then
Yeah.
Lizzie shoots the guy and saves Tyrese, which is ironic because he was unknowingly calling her a psycho earlier in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that Carol went about teaching the kids these survival skills was wrong. She should have had consent from their parents to do it. But if I was in the zombie apocalypse with my own child, I would absolutely be teaching them how to do these things. I would not just trust that I could always be there in the moment to protect them. It's not realistic.
Yeah,
It never happens in this show.
same thing. Me too. But I think in this case, if it was about an army of people attacking and there was a getaway bus, you probably would tell the kids. You wouldn't say grab a gun and fight.
Oh,
You'd say
no.
go get on the bus. But that would have
Yeah.
been the wrong thing in this case.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. All right. Do you have any more big points?
No, that got all of them.
Let me see. I had one about Lily and Megan. I think we covered most of it, but I did just want to say that the muddy zombie was pretty damn cool with the worms and everything.
It
I
was.
really like that. And there's a sign that said warning flash flood zone, so you figure that's how he got there.
And the whole way the scene, like you knew the bad thing was going to happen. It was very horror movie build up to me of like you knew danger was happening, like they were trying to misdirect you by like building up the music with the zombie that you talked about getting sort of whisked away with the water as like a misdirection that the danger is going to come up from the water, and you're scared because you know something's going to happen but you're not expecting it, or at least I wasn't expecting it to be the mud that
I think I was probably
in.
like, is something in there? And then it's like, oh no, it's across the river. Okay. Oh wait, it totally is in there. Something
Yeah.
All right, let's do notes. You go ahead.
I mean that actually, like, we ended up getting all my notes incorporated in with other things we were talking about. The one thing I don't know if it really is fully this episode, but like how many times does the show fake us out on Glenn dying? Like, because this sets it up as him leaving on the bus, right? And then we see the bus killed. We already had him almost die from the flu. And then like he almost dies, I mean, multiple more times in the coming seasons. They have him in just absolutely dire situations.
It's like Kenny.
I feel like it's why when he eventually did die, like we were fully spoiling, right? Yeah. Like when Negan did eventually kill him, I think I spent like a few weeks still bargaining, like, is there a way we put his head back together, right? Like I knew it wasn't rational, but like just because they had done it so many times with him, I think it was really hard to accept that this time it was really real. Like, no, it was a dream they all had, and he wasn't really gone. Like I spent a lot of
even
time
when he's on the
bargaining.
trough at Terminus with that bat behind him.
God.
But they're all in danger a lot. But yeah, it feels
no. His is what I mean. The dumpster.
Glenn.
And then right after the dumpster, like he's at the gate and almost dies, but like Abraham and Sasha show up at the last moment to save him. Like it's just so many times. We need like a
near death count
for Glenn.
I had actually forgotten that the governor captured Herschel and Maggie when he was scouting the prison.
Oh yeah.
So did he like knocked Michonne out before she noticed him or something?
Mm-hmm. And then Herschel couldn't really do a lot with one leg, so
yeah, and no
popped
gun.
away.
Sasha thanks Bob for getting the antibiotics and helping save her life, and he doesn't want to hear it. Is that just because he's ashamed because of how he handled himself during that?
Yeah, like I don't think he feels like he, gets the glory of being the hero because of the way he kind of failed himself, I think, with the alcohol, and failed the people he was with. But he doesn't feel bad enough that he'll turn down putting his arm around her to help her out to get in the sunshine. So we got to see that first like glimpse of them, developing a friendship.
Yes. And I really like their relationship a lot.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Me too.
Only on The Walking Dead. I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of this stuff would happen in the real world. So pretty much everything here, except for the zombies. Do you have one?
I said only on The Walking Dead. I mean, this is so fucking bleak, but only on The Walking Dead does someone come to you holding their dead child and you take it from them and shoot them in the head. Like
that is true. Yeah. And would the audience think, yeah, that's probably a good idea?
Obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens.
The people it kills get up and kill.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a Walking Deadcast news update.
All right, so HBO has now officially announced that The Last of Us Season 2 is premiering on Sunday, April 13th, which is kind of what we were thinking and hoping for. So pretty soon, 2 months.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. They put out 3 really cool posters, one with Ellie, one with Joel, and one with a new character, Abby, and they all have the tagline, "Every path has a price."
Ooh.
And when asked about an end game for The Last of Us, HBO executive Francesca Orsi recently told Deadline, "We don't have a complete or final plan, but I think it's looking like 4 seasons. I wouldn't want to confirm that, but it's looking like this season and then 2 more seasons after this, and we're done." Which, that sounds good to me if they're only adapting the second game. And they said they're not going to create anything new past the games. But what I'm still holding out hope for is that by the time they get to the end of adapting The Last of Us Part 2 game, that Part 3 will come out and they will then be able to adapt that too. They haven't even officially announced a Part 3, but there's a lot of speculation that they're working on it.
Yeah. I feel like it would be hard to imagine them not at least trying to come up with that, given the resurgence in popularity because of the show. Like so many people have picked those games back up or picked them up for the first time since the show's come out. So,
I mean, Neil Druckmann, who's the main creative force behind The Last of Us games, has said he wouldn't want to do the game unless he has a good story for it. And he also said, "I have a good story for a third game." So it seems like they're doing it.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah. And then I only had one other thing, which is that I guess Walking Dead Dead City was supposed to have landed on Netflix already, but it got delayed. But now they've announced that it will arrive on March 10th.
Nice.
So for Dead City fans. All right, let's move on to Alyssa Moan's Groans and Grunts. We'll go first.
Yeah. Chandra Wright says, "Farewell, dear Herschel. I always miss you when we get to this point. I love the look of fatherly pride he has as Rick extends an olive branch, offering to set aside their differences and live together. His speech almost works. For a minute, the governor falters, then doubles down on evil. This is the last time the Green family was together in an episode. Oh, that's really sad. The day Maggie lost her dad is also technically the day she loses her sister and thinks she's lost her husband. No wonder she's such bad company on the road to Terminus. JK. This time around watching the episode, I appreciated how thoroughly the prison set was destroyed, leaving no possibility for us to wonder why they didn't just go back. LOL, when this group leaves a place, they burn that sucker down to the ground. That's true.
I love everything you said there, Chandra.
Yeah.
Good points. Yeah, I didn't think about that with Beth and Maggie.
Yeah. The last thing she ever says to Beth is, "We've all got jobs to do."
Yeah. Should have just let Beth go with her.
Yeah.
Alma Contreras says, "I just watched today. This episode is one of my top 3. Actually, this is the first episode I ever watched. Holy cow. And it hooked me right away. The only reason I tuned in was because a lot of my friends were talking about it on Facebook. And truth be told, I'd stayed away from the show because I don't like zombies. They scare the shit out of me. Anyway, this is such an intense, heartbreaking, and brutal episode. R.I.P. Herschel had one of the worst deaths in the whole series. After all my years of rewatching the series, this episode hits me real hard every time. And yes, I cry every single time. Such an amazing way to do a mid-season break. Well, I can't wait to hear you all talk through this one. I don't know, what would you consider a bad death, I wonder? You know, is it like the coolest deaths, the most painful it was the worst, or... Because I don't know.
To me, I think the worst is when it doesn't honor their character fully. And so for me, this was a terrible way to go as far as to me, I can't get the picture of Herschel crawling in the grass, bleeding out.
Yeah.
That's terrible, but
would have been
would
better
rather
for him if it was just one clean sweep.
But I would still rather Herschel's death than being eaten by zombies alive.
Yeah.
That feels
I think of Noah
more terrible.
in the revolving door, or any of those sick people. I don't know.
I just started watching Abbott Elementary, and the same actor who plays Noah is a main character in that show. And so it was just reflecting on poor Noah and his terrible death.
He's a great guy. I would do panels with him. What's his name? Tyler or something. And the guy that played Nicholas,
Oh, that's
who's the
fun.
reason he got fucked over in the revolving door. I'd put them together on a panel.
That's really fun.
That was really fun. All right. Your turn.
Okay. Beth Perry? When you first see Herschel and Michonne, there's a sign behind them in the RV that says weekend getaway. Then the very next scene, we see Maggie and Glenn, and he says he needs a weekend vacation. Such a weird tie-in. I didn't notice that sign.
Mm-mm.
I feel so bad for Lily and Tara in this episode because when they're clearly uncomfortable with his direction and choices, but don't feel like they have any other options. I love that Lily had the strength to do what Andrea couldn't and put an end to him. Unfortunately, she did it way too late. The last zombie shown up close at the end was the woman Rick met in the woods who wanted food for her husband from season 4, episode 1, 30 Days Without an Accident.
Mm-hmm.
Hosts, what would you have done? Given up the prison or stayed to fight? I love that Rick was willing to share the space. I would have left.
I don't know what I would have done, but I think leaving would have been the better thing to do.
If he didn't have a tank,
Yeah.
different story, but what are you going to do against a tank?
Yeah, I think so. She said that, Lily had the strength to do what Andrea couldn't do and put an end to the governor. Do you think if Andrea was in this situation where she saw the governor firing on the prison, she would have been able to do it?
Yes.
I think so. If
absolutely
not,
think
then
so.
fuck you, Andrea. But I would pretty much.
I mean,
bet on
doing that versus like killing him in his sleep when you have heard the bad things he's done, but you haven't seen them firsthand. I think that's very different.
Yeah. Then right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like Lily not shooting him. I don't know if she even had a gun, but when she heard his speech to the people, it's like that's a whole different context.
Yeah.
All right. Matt King says, just watch episode 8 today after listening to the episode 7 podcast. What a bummer to see Herschel get the chop. So avoidable, too. If only they had sent a lesser character out with Michonne. Someone we don't really care about.
That's just not what I was expecting.
I know.
The direction
avoidable
of this to
if just sacrifice some other peon. If only Carol hadn't killed Karen and David, then you could send them out. Herschel is one of the biggest losses so far as the moral compass of the show, and the manner of his execution brings back memories of how Glenn would be brutally dispatched in season 7. Poor Maggie.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's a bad death. David Morrissey literally killing it here after the recent episodes focused on him. Superb performance by the biggest Walking Dead villain of all. And after all of his violence, his substitute daughter gets bitten by a walker anyway. What a waste. It was quite jarring to see the children with guns, although that possibly is normal in the U.S. nowadays. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. And saving Tyrese. At least this will force them to leave the prison and on to somewhere safer. Is it Terminus next? I've forgotten more than I remember. Yeah, the rest of this season is on the road to Terminus.
Yeah.
All right, here's a call from Steve Brown.
Hello, the cast of us. This is Steve, and this is going to be for The Walking Dead, Too Far Gone. Even the closed captioning is calling him the governor now. Oh, and he's giving a speech that's going to send them to try to take over the prisoner, isn't it? Prison? Yeah, and he's going to convince them that Rick and his group are bad guys. Oh, he's already captured Herschel and Michonne, and no one's there to contradict him, and he's got the charisma to convince them that this is the right thing to do. Oh, unfortunately, Herschel, you're too late. He's already convinced them that the people of the prison are bad guys. So no matter what you try to say, he's not going to believe you and you're not going to believe him. Yeah, Lily's not convinced. She really doesn't want to do this. And doesn't want him to do this. Oh, it's so good to see our group again. Maggie and Glenn together. Oh, so Rick told Daryl and now they're going to tell Tyrese. See how this turns out. Ooh, somebody dissected a rat and put it on a board? Oh, I remember now. When Rick and Daryl don't get a chance to tell Tyrese about Carol because the tank just attacked the prison. Ooh, and Daryl going to Tyrese and Sasha explaining how they're going to evacuate in case things go bad. Okay, so Lily and Megan are back at the camp by the water. Who all is with them? Oh, maybe it's just the two of them there. Mm-hmm. Oh, and a walker coming up through the mud. He's got Megan. Okay, so some of the kids want to leave and go to the bus like they're supposed to, but I can't remember the crazy one's name. What's her name? She wants a
Lizzie.
gun. Oh, yeah. Rick trying to be reasonable, and the governor just grabbed a sword. Yeah, he's not going to be reasonable. Oh, good try, Rick. You're going to try to appeal to the rest of the people there. Oh, he said too far gone. Title of the episode, mic drop. This is a great speech Rick's giving here. Very much like the Live Together, Die Alone speech from Lost.
Yep.
Oh, he said liar and cuts off Herschel's head. Oh, the governor just finished off Herschel. Oh, and now he sees Megan and Lily. Here, finally, the voice of reason. He chopped a guy's head off with a sword. So what did the governor think? He's mowing down the fences with this tank. Were they going to try to rebuild? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if they succeeded. I know they don't.
He did mutter to himself at one point. I saw in the closed captions, "We'll fix the fences" or something.
Oh, and Beth's going to get on the bus, and Maggie's going into the prison, and they're blowing holes in the prison with the tank, and Rick and the governor are fighting. Wow. So now Beth's not on the bus. Oh, and the bus just left. Oh, and that's right. It's Lizzie, and the kids are shooting at the people. Oh, and Michonne just saved Rick's life. Oh, and Daryl just threw a grenade down the tank's throat. Boom goes the tank. That's right. And this is how our group gets separated, and they spend the rest of the season trying to get back together. Oh, and Judith's carrier is empty, but there's blood. Oh, and Lily finishes off the governor with his own gun. Oh, and as the scene ends, the dead take over the prison. Is that the woman from the beginning of the season? The one that Rick spared in the woods? Just keep walking.
Yep. That's Mike Airman Trout's daughter-in-law on Better Call Saul. Steve used to be in the military, and he didn't say when he mentioned Daryl throwing the grenade down the tank thing, "Oh, that wouldn't happen." So maybe that means it was legit.
Well, if I'm ever in a war against a tank and have a grenade in my pocket, I know my approach. Josie Bowen Echtel says, "Oh, this episode. I cried at this one, and it may or may not be because I'm 33 weeks pregnant, but wow, it really hit me this time around when Rick and Carl reunite and then find the car seat. So many tears. On one hand, I get what Lizzie was trying to do, and I'm glad she was able to get that guy. But the stress of not remembering where Judith is in these moments is horrifying, and even more so for Beth, Rick, and Carl, obviously. Why would they even try to bother with a damn car seat? I hate that. The loss of Herschel is huge, and I forgot Beth has to witness it. It was crushing seeing Herschel watch Rick through the negotiation attempt. He was so proud of his growth. I'm looking forward to Daryl and Beth having their episode soon. I love that duo. This episode is so crushing just all around. It's a beautiful full circle episode, though, that leaves you on the edge of your seat. That sketchy lady walker Rick left in the woods, for example. I'm thankful Lily killed the governor, so we no longer have to worry about him. Her grief and disappointment were hard to watch. Damn, this episode is just full of the emotions. Can't wait to hear the coverage and dive into the next few episodes of the Journey to Terminus. Bye!
Bye. Josie, congratulations on being 33 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, very exciting.
You're right around, I think Rachel is somewhere right around there. She wrote in a little bit later here, you'll hear. So you guys are watching the rewatch fully pregnant. I don't know why that matters, but it's kind of cool. All right. Nathan Eshelman says, Tara was the first person to say I'm in when the governor shared his plans. That's got to add to the guilt she feels going into the second half of the season. Granted, he said he would try to scare the prison group away, but when things started to go south, she immediately realized she didn't want to be there. So she was the first person to drop her weapon. She's also the first person Rick tries to appeal to besides the governor. He said,
you
and the
you
ponytail.
with the ponytails.
I guess
think she had
ponytails,
two little ponytails, I think.
This more looked like her hair was
it
pointed,
just one?
But, I don't know. But yeah, he was talking to her, right? Because the camera went to her.
Yeah.
We talked about how she hasn't really had to leave her apartment since the whole thing began. So I wonder if she would have been more willing to fight alongside Alicia if she'd been living in the woods this whole time and had been more acclimated to the violence. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think that's because her and both her sister too seem like neophytes to the zombie apocalypse. Fun fact, her shirt says Motormouth Mabel, which is a punk band of one of the crew members.
Huh.
It's free advertisement that worked on me because years ago I bought some of their music on Bandcamp. When do you think the show became self-aware about how cool Daryl is to the fans? This is the first season where he has second billing, And it's around this time people started saying, if Daryl dies, we riot. I also remember feeling like it was around this time that the writers started to put him in danger, not just as a character, but also as a form of fan bait for the engagement the outrage would bring. They clearly do this season because when he comes in and in the very first episode and all the Woodbury people are like, look, it's Daryl. Hey, Daryl.
Yeah.
You can
I
tell
would
they're,
say season 3, right? Like, I feel like because by the end of the farm, he was still a little grungy. He had his like
yeah,
ear necklace, but he was starting to like develop more as a character that we were getting to know and not just be this gruff redneck. But I feel like in season 3, like seeing him become Rick's brother and sort of question his real older brother, Merle, I feel like that's when people started to really fall for Daryl.
yeah. Well, I think his episodes in season 2 caused people to fall for him, the whole Cherokee Rose and everything. But I think the show, feels more self-aware of it starting in season 3, like when he's facing off with Martinez and stuff. You can tell that they know he's cool, but especially this season. So it's like kicks up a level each season, maybe.
I did sort of laugh when Rick was telling Daryl about Carol. Like, we got that such characteristic, like Daryl when he's upset and he's just like pacing and doing these turns and like throwing his arms up. Like, it was just the typical, like, I don't know. When I think of Daryl, that's what I think of is him
Yeah.
doing that little like frustrated dance almost that he does.
Yeah.
And he was doing it in this episode.
It's like an animal that's upset.
Yeah.
Or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Sad thought. This is not only the last episode where we see Herschel alive, but it's also the last episode where Maggie sees Beth alive. It's a tough episode to watch, but it's also one of my favorites. The heightened emotions make it really engaging, and this may be my favorite Rick monologue. I think we talked about that monologue a lot more the first time I podcasted about it. I remember liking it and comparing it to the Live Together, Die Alone speech from Lost. He offers the governor's people basically everything they want, a place to live, grow food, and have security. But the governor's all or nothing mentality makes it impossible to come together. To be fair, he's right not to think that Michonne would leave him alone and vice versa. Totally. I wonder if Megan's death would have been better placed. I don't think they could have lived there together, not with the governor.
No.
I wonder if Megan's death would have been better placed near the start of the episode. It would have been a good catalyst for why the governor turned down Rick's offer. It could have been, but it was kind of more interesting that he didn't have such a solid reason and just to have him grapple with his own inner demons instead. That's what I think.
Yeah.
He says losing another daughter would have cemented his idea that nothing in his life changes. And Shonda Wright replied to him. I thought it was good, so I'm going to read it. I had a very similar thought about Tara. She was clearly very uneasy as the governor talked through his plan, and she was shocked when he casually mentioned taking 2 hostages. But her desire to prove her loyalty prevailed. After all, he'd helped her father, was kind to her niece, and had turned into an unexpected romance for her sister. Still, she knew something was off with his plan, but pushed her better judgment aside. She could have been a voice of reason within their group, but instead, in a moment, she allowed herself to become complicit. I felt compassion for her and also reminded of moments I have been around someone who said or did something that ran counter to my beliefs, but chose not to speak up. Those are hard personal moments, but what's harder or maybe just more impactful is when a collective, a country, a nation ignores an ugly, dangerous truth. Tara felt like a national placeholder when I rewatched yesterday. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
All right, here's Carly Jackson.
Hi, Jason and Lucy. This is Carly. And I just finished listening to your last episode, and you had such amazing commentary. You pointed out so many things that I did not notice about the governor, and it was just really an awesome discussion. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Really
and
nice.
so I just had a couple points about this episode, Too Far Gone. You know, Herschel asked the governor if he knows what it's like to have a daughter, and if he did, like, how could he threaten someone else's daughter? And the governor says, because they aren't mine. And I think that just confirms how much of a narcissist the governor is. He doesn't see people, he sees them as possessions, and he will do anything to control and protect his possessions. And even Lily says to him that she didn't want to hurt people for safety, and he just dismisses her. Like, he doesn't care about what she cares about. He just cares about his own possession. So I thought that was really chilling when he did that to her. And I don't know if she realized what was going on. She kind of had a reaction there. And then the other point I wanted to talk about was Rick gives his speech saying that people can come back from the terrible things they've done. And you see Herschel so proud of him in that moment, that Rick has faith that people can be redeemed. And the governor doesn't. But I think it's true that the governor cannot be redeemed. Like he's definitely too far gone, like the episode title says. And
Yep.
yeah, that was just a really heartbreaking moment to see Herschel so proud of Rick. And I don't think that Rick and the governor could have lived together in the prison. I mean, you guys were making the comparisons of the governor to Shane. I think they would have had the same ending that Rick and Shane had. But I wonder if Rick was appealing more to the other people in the group, and hoping that they would rebel against the governor. Which it's just really sad that they don't, that no one steps up and is like, yeah, let's not do this. So anyway, have a great week. Don't get bit.
Maybe he should have said that. He should have said, I fought this guy, just as he did. We brought people in, they're leaders in the group. This guy's an asshole. Why don't you leave him and come join me? We'll be fine here, or something like that.
I mean, I think if he'd had like an hour to think,
yeah,
I think.
But I was glad he was saying something along those lines, at least.
Yeah.
I don't even know why it never occurred to me that the episode title "Too Far Gone" is about the governor being too far gone to be redeemed or to come back from this. So thanks for pointing that out.
All right. This is a long one. Rachel Teal Edwards writes, Season 4, mid-season finale, let's go. I tried last week to care enough about that episode to gather some thoughts for feedback, and I just could not bring myself to do it. I have limited capacity these days, and the governor did not make the cut. Fair. But here we finally
She's the one that's also super pregnant.
Oh, nice. So legit reasons to cut out governor. But here we finally are at the end of his story, and I am pumped. Jason, I enjoyed your breakdown of the governor's narcissism a couple weeks ago. It made me think back to the way he speaks about his wife, telling Rick that the day she died, she had called him and he hadn't got around to calling her back yet. In the past, I've thought about him potentially as a family man prior to the zombie apocalypse, but realistically, there's no way this man had a loving marriage. He may have cared deeply about his daughter, and I feel like we tend to think of that as a given based on his delusional behavior with the zombie girl, maybe even his one redeeming quality. The thing is, no one just becomes a narcissist like flipping a switch the day the world ends. I agree. Narcissists and psychopaths use and manipulate everyone in their life for their own gain, including their own family members. I know how men like him treat their families. Their spouse and their children actually see and receive the worst of their behavior while they turn on their charming personality for the outside world. I'm sure he was just as charming to other people in his life before the zombie apocalypse as he was to the residents of Woodbury, while being an absolute horror at home to his wife behind closed doors. His wife was probably desperate to leave and to take her daughter out of this man's home, but she was stuck because no one would believe that this delightful man who loves his daughter oh so much could be so full of shit and so cold, so dramatic and unstable at home. Narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder are both considered cluster B, so they're actually so similar that it's often hard to spot the difference. But antisocial, or psychopath, is heavier on the lying and the violence than narcissism is, without remorse and often because it brings joy and satisfaction. He may not have been physically violent towards his wife and daughter pre-ZA, but he was absolutely abusive in other ways. Now, as we watch his final episode, we see just how far gone he is into psychopathy, and I was absolutely horrified by him. The absolute lies and manipulation he spews to get these innocent people to do the violent thing he wants them to do under the false promise of safety. It was infuriating to watch. I think they wrote the governor's psychopathy really well, actually, because in all his lies and manipulation, I actually got so confused trying to keep his story straight through all of his contradictions depending on who he was talking to. But it's because his actual main goal is destroying Rick, and of course he never actually says that part out loud. This is not in the least bit about providing safety for his fake daughter and girlfriend. It is 100% personal vendetta, and whether or not he acknowledges that Penny was already dead, he still deeply hates Michonne, Rick, and by extension the whole crew, and desperately wants his revenge. Megan was just the excuse he needed, even if he wasn't consciously aware of it. His bloodlust was reignited after being found by Martinez and reminded of everything he lost when he was defeated by Rick. He saw his opportunity for a second chance to get the ending he always wanted, death and destruction. I appreciate that Tara and Lily both seriously questioned his behavior. I loved this exchange between the governor and Lily. I love you. I don't know who you are. Yes, girl, go with your instincts. He and Lily go on. Think about Megan. First of all, how dare you, as if her actual mother isn't always thinking about her actual daughter's best interests. And she replies, I am. What's she going to be in this world? And he says, she's going to be alive. His attachment to this random little girl isn't cute or endearing in any way. It's fucking weird and creepy. Penny might symbolize his first or most obvious failure and embarrassment, which for a narcissist would be an unending source of anger and insecurity. And in his backwards brain, Megan provides him with an opportunity to prove that he's not a failure in this way. I agree with this part a lot. I feel bad for Lily because if someone is vulnerable, it's easy to fall for a narcissist, and she really suffered for it. But also, as Megan's death is such a big fuck you to the governor, I'm actually glad he died knowing he failed again. Great poetic justice that Lily is actually the one to put the final bullet in him too. The governor is actually more honest with Herschel and Michonne when he talks to them in the RV, but he's still lying when he says he's going to take the prison as peacefully as possible. He rolls in with a freaking tank, for God's sake, and announces his presence by blowing up a guard tower. He's totally full of shit. Plus, he knows there's no way Rick is going to roll over and say, okay, here you go. So just saying his goal is peace, the governor can now feel justified in blaming Rick for the violence he actually creates. He tells Rick this isn't about the past. So Rick says, great, let's let go of all of it. We can all live here together. And the governor responds with, no, too much happened in the past. Rick says, there are children here. Some of them are sick. They won't survive. The governor responds, I have a tank. Despite Rick's desperate attempts to reason with the man, it was always going to be futile. More props to the writers for Rick's monologue, though. God, it's so good, and Andy Lincoln delivers all of it so perfectly. Compared to the governor's bullshit, it's emotional, but so sincere, so rational. He begs for the same in return from the normal survivors turned soldiers. Is this what you want? Is this what any of you want? But alas, we're not too far gone. I know, we can all change. Liar.
You know, I think you're right that Rick is sincere here, but it does make me think of when he made some kind of a speech to Morales, who comes back in season 8. And then it's just so they can get the drop on him. You know, it was bullshit. Kind of.
No,
or was it Daryl killed him?
Daryl killed him, and Rick was
Yeah.
actually upset that he did it, even though Rick had
for
been
like 2
doing
seconds, but he was
crazy shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I felt like that was bullshit, but I do think this is sincere.
Yeah. Herschel's death is obviously ineffably horrifying and tragic, and the battle that ensues is one of the most unforgettable in the whole series. Tara's line always stands out in my mind after she realizes she's on the wrong side. He chopped off a guy's head with a sword. She's so completely horrified in that moment. I'm glad she's here now. She's such a good character, wide-ranging and fun to watch. Final note from the prison. It seems like they had some semblance of a plan that immediately fell apart. Daryl says, we can't take them all on. We'll go through the admin building, through the woods like we planned. And then he and Tyrese talk about the bus as the main means of escape. But still, no rendezvous point for everyone? It doesn't really make sense. I don't mind, though. We're on the cusp of the best episodes of the series. Let's go. That was great.
You'd think after everything that happened with Sophia, they would set a rendezvous point for something like this.
They would have, but that would have
story
really
thing.
ruined the next half of the season.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Rachel's, I guess, a psychologist, psychotherapist, and I asked her to if she had any thoughts about what I'd said about narcissism. And there's a lot of really good stuff in here. So I appreciate you writing it about that.
It was great.
All right. One more call. Well, actually, we do have some messages about last week's episode, but here's a call on this one from Renee.
Hi, guys. This is Renee calling. I hate the governor, and I'm going to call him the governor since
I was
I
like, this is the most depressed sounding I've heard her call start off ever.
Liar that lies. And the way that he hit Michonne in the face like that with that gun really pissed me off. This man is a clear psychopath. Rick tried to tell him, Rick did tell him, that we all can live together in peace and harmony eventually. Like he said, not right now. We can stay separated until we work the kinks out, but we can all live together. And that man still chose to kill Herschel. That man is awful. Just like Martinez told him that, we could do this together, you and I. But no, that's not what he wants, because he's a narcissist. He wants to be the leader, and he does not want anyone else to lead. And then he had the audacity to call Rick a liar. Sir, you're the lying liar that lies, not Rick. Mm-hmm. And people always say that Rick got his butt whipped by the governor, but the only reason that the governor was able to get the upper hand on my man is because Rick was shot in the leg. Otherwise, he would have beat the crap out of the governor. And that's why his wife came through there and put that sword right straight through the governor, which is another indication that Rick and Michonne were going to be together. It's like these little Easter eggs we missed the first time. And rest in peace to Herschel. I love him. But the hardest part for me in this episode was seeing my man get pummeled like that by the governor. I wanted to go through my TV myself and beat the crap out of the governor. I cried like a baby. I didn't even really watch it. I just went past that real quick. Because that really just pissed me off. And the way Michonne just left him laying on the ground like that, she walked off like, yeah, B, I told you I was going to kill you. And Lily, it's like, girl, why would you leave your daughter, in the mud, playing in the mud like that? And especially after you just saw the freaking walker in the water and you just sat back down on the RV. Your daughter should have been up there on the RV with you. Like Lily, she just, I don't know. But I will give her props. I feel like that she started suspecting something was not right about the governor. That's why she killed his ass at the end, because she had already suspected that. And then when she saw all of that carnage and what happened, it was like, no, you're awful. And then Rick and Carl, man, I tell you, it broke my heart. The way that they cried when they saw that bloody car seat, man, I was crying. Even though I know that Judas survived, I still was boo-hoo crying. I mean, I love Carl just as much as I love his daddy. And just hearing that baby sob like that really did something to my spirit. I'm just glad this episode, the government arc is over, is done, is a wrap. And now we can move on to, what's going to happen next. All righty, I will talk to you. Peace and love. Bye.
Bye. I actually didn't even notice Rick got shot in the leg. So that does change the way I see the fight with him and the governor.
Yeah.
Glad you pointed that out. All right, Randy wrote in last week, but he wrote in a bit late, so we didn't get it in. So it's about season 4, episode 7, Dead Weight. He says, "Hello, Jason, Lucy, and Rebecca. It's Randy from that one nightmare you keep having. How would you all have felt if they interweaved the governor's story into the prison sickness episodes as opposed to separating the stories? I've always wondered if that was the original plan, but they made a creative choice when editing the season. I'm curious if that would have altered the reception of the two storylines. The governor's appearance wouldn't have been as surprising, but not seeing the aftermath of his sudden appearance for 2 episodes dulls that a bit anyway. On the flip side, weaving the stories together might have made the sickness story at the prison feel unintentionally dragged out. The one thing that really stands out to me when the stories are separated, though, is you lose the implied passage of time. The governor's rise with this new group feels like it happens in 2 days, the way it's presented. If it had been spread out over an interweaved 6 to 8 episodes, I think it feels like more time passes because you assume his story is still happening in the background while you're watching the A-plot. They do a similar thing with Beth's story in season 5. There are definite pros and cons to weaving and not weaving. Which would you have preferred? Loving the rewatch. See you tonight in your nightmares. Spoilers, it's the one where you can't find a classroom you're supposed to be in. I think timing is the problem, because even though you said having the two Governor episodes together like that makes it feel like it happens in 2 days, there's some time jumps in there, and it happens over the course of months, but the sickness does happen over just the course of 2 days. So if you interweaved a story that's happening over a course of months back and forth between a story that's happening just over a couple of days, then maybe it would be a little bit confusing and make it seem even more like the Governor's story just happened over a couple of days, you know?
I think maybe they could have done it with the second episode. Like the first one, I think had to be a standalone because it was such a time jump episode, right? Like there were even jumps within the episode between like him leaving his Woodbury friends and
growing out his
growing a
beard.
beard and stuff.
But then would you have the first episode of the season be that one, you know, and then go to the sickness and intersperse the second episode among the sickness?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think they probably did it the least bad way. Or the best they could. Maybe that's a nicer way to say it. But it would be interesting to see. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it would have been good. All right, we have one more call, also from Archmaester Rennie, who also submitted after we had already recorded, or maybe I just late enough that I didn't notice it or something. But anyway, this is about last week's episode too. So here's Rennie.
Hey, Lucy and Jason. I wanted to point out some great visual storytelling in this episode. In the cold open, we see Brian doing laundry and playing chess with Megan. He's in a very domestic setting, and he's engaging in caretaking. Then we get a long shot, and we see that he's standing between a house trailer on one side, representing domesticity and family, his family self, and a tank on the other side, representing his governor persona. Then toward the end, we see him alone at the end of the dock by the lake, and we see his reflection in the water, again, visually representing his divided self. Philip and Brian, the governor, and the loving dad. Then at the very end, the last shot, he's pointing a gun, the governor fully returned and taken over. So the whole episode is framed by a scene of Brian doing laundry, symbolically cleaning up his act, and a scene of the governor, the Philip persona, looking down the barrel of a gun, fallen all the way back into brutality and the need to take control. So I just wanted to shout out the director, Jeremy Podeswa, for all of that. He has also directed episodes of Handmaid's Tale and Game of Thrones, for which he was nominated for Game of Thrones for 2 Emmys. So, good work, Jeremy.
Love it. Love all that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we helped people appreciate those episodes a little bit more. I think you said it did with you a little bit, and just that call made me appreciate it even a little bit more, Rennie.
Or leave us a voice